Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Ballogy. Manage and measure your players' skill development and increase accountability year-round utilizing the Ballogy app. Boost inter-squad competition with drills backed by the National High School Basketball Coaches Association, including a 40-shot Ballogy skills assessment. Please visit ballogy.com/teams for information on how you can provide this resource for your team. I gotta imagine that you've been coaching for a long time, and start off with Coach Knight as a student assistant. Is that correct?
Student manager. Yes, I actually played 1 year in Division II and ran cross country at what was then a Division II school. Now it's an NAI university. And then I wanted to be a high school coach, so I thought the best path or avenue for me to be a varsity head coach in the state of Indiana would be to go work for Coach Knight as a student manager and learn from him. So obviously the career took a different turn.
But I got to imagine that was a cool experience. And then so getting to learn from him and then working your way up, I would imagine you have some daily habits that set you up for success. So kind of take me through morning routine, daily stuff that you just know kind of sets you on the right path.
Well, right when I wake up, I probably break the cardinal sin, number one, of looking at my phone immediately to check text messages and emails. And I listen to a ton of podcasts, and I try to get better and improve. But that's one habit that I just can't break. And it's the first 5 or 10 minutes of my day is just to see who texts late night from across the world, whatever the case, and respond. I scroll through Twitter to see if I miss anything juicy on the NBA scene the night before. And then I head into the office. And the first at least 30 minutes, maybe depending on the time of year, depending on what time I got up to go in, 30 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes of self-improvement. I read, I watch film, whatever it is. I try to do something outside of our team in order just to improve myself. So that's been something I've always tried to do first thing in the morning, because that's when I'm the most creative. My brain is functioning the best early mornings. And I never work out in the mornings because I wait until I hit a lull in the afternoons, and I get fatigued in the afternoons, and then I go work out to try to just generate a little bit of energy and some buzz.
That's a good nugget right there. I think the times when I do work out in the morning, probably about 1:30, 2 o'clock, golly, I just start to hit a wall. And so that's a good point. It's a way to get through. What are some, as far as reading goes? I mean, obviously there are probably a bunch of books you could go to, but what are some genres or areas that you like to stay in?
Obviously, basketball, leadership, coaching are the things that I enjoy the most. But I guess this morning, this is Doug Lamotte's books, and it's more like a textbook.
Yeah.
But I'll read it for 5 or 10 minutes, and it literally, you can see it because it literally is a textbook, Teach Like a Champion. So it's slow to read. It's not enjoyable like a fiction or nonfiction. So I'll read 2 to 5 pages depending on how locked in I am. And now I'm reading Ray Dalio's Principles as kind of enjoyment. And I'll read probably 10 to 25 pages a morning of that. And then I have a number of different things that I'll watch on film. But it might be articles in The Athletic that I saw the night before and didn't have time to read, or was doing something else. So anything to stimulate some thought. Hopefully try to improve my vocabulary, generate, anything that's going to help me an idea or nugget to give to our guys with, the inspiration behind that. So that's why I do it. But also I just feel naked if I haven't done something to improve myself a little bit.
I always feel a little bit behind or out of sorts. I feel like when if I do happen to sleep in late and I literally just show up to work and I have to get going with either a class or our athletic period. Yeah, there's just something rushed about the rest of the day where I always feel a little bit behind. So I get that. So many guys have told me about the Doug Lamothe books, and I haven't read any of them, but almost everybody has said the same thing, that they're a lot and it takes a long time to get through.
It's like reading a college textbook, but I'm not reading it to enjoy because I enjoy reading it. I read his stuff because I improve by reading it, and it usually causes me to reevaluate what I'm doing. And I've stolen a lot of ideas, and I feel like we feel like we've gotten some immediate return And so I think I probably read or listened to every podcast, every book, or listened to every podcast he's ever done. I'm actually going to go to Miami. He's speaking at a conference in July, and I'm going to drive down and just kind of be a fly on the wall.
Oh, nice.
So really excited about that.
What are a couple of those takeaways that you've implemented with your team where you feel like, yeah, I definitely felt the difference?
Well, first and foremost, just the encouraging mistakes in practice, and we learn a lot more through a mistake than we do success. So it's just we praise mistakes, and we let our guys know that this is the right time to make that mistake, because now we won't make it when the lights are on and you're playing a game. And then just the concept of immediately after learning something, as soon as we learn something, we immediately begin to forget it. And so there's a process that the brain operates where you learn something, you forget it, and then we go back to it. So our practices will jump around. If we introduce a new play, we may introduce it in a walkthrough setting, and then we do some type of one-on-one live. And just in the middle of one-on-one live, I'll say, stop, let's run fist five. And it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to not know. Think about it. If you need the staff, we're here. Otherwise, I want you guys to figure it out on your own. And then if they need help, then we help them. But otherwise, we encourage them to coach each other, to talk them their way through it. And then we go back to doing something else. And then maybe 20 minutes later, we go back to the same play again and run that play. And so we feel like it's been a big part of our guys learning, taking in a lot of information and really absorbing it. And then it becomes what he terms as long-term memory as opposed to working memory. And anything that's in our long-term memory, we don't have to think about anymore. It's automatic. And it doesn't overload our brain, because when the lights come on, we're trying to just play basketball based on what we've done in practice and workouts. And so it's been I can't recommend his work anymore as a coach that's been impacted and affected by it.
Coach, that's big time, because as you're talking about the way that you weave in any of those new concepts and hit it again and again throughout practice. I love the idea of it being at random times. You're in the middle of defensive shell and you pause and you ask them to get back into something. I'm definitely going to borrow that. But it made me think of all the times where I feel like I've done that wrong. Like how many coaches at the beginning of practice, it's like, all right, hey, listen, here's a new action. Let's rep through a little bit, go through the rest of practice, leave, and then 3 nights later in a game, we're in a timeout. Hey, let's go. Let's run this play. You see deer in the headlight. Hey, fellas, I mean, we walked through it. We spent time on it. Like, did you really? Like, I think you nailed it there.
And as you're evolving as a coach, you almost feel embarrassed that you didn't know that before. You think how many more people you could have helped. I mean, that's how it is for me every year. I can't believe I didn't know that before now, but that's part of being a constant learner. The other thing probably that I'll take with me, whatever profession I was in, would be cold calling. And typically this is something we've learned as coaches. When you ask a question, hey, what's number 12 going to do on the down screen, whether he likes to fade it or curl or whatever the case, and you ask a question and 1 or 2 guys answer every question over the course of a season, and you feel great because it's the question's being answered. So obviously everyone's absorbing the same information. Well, we ask a question and then we give them a few seconds to process and think, and then we call on someone different every time. So you ask a question, I look around the circle. All right, Matt, it's okay to be wrong. I don't care if you know this answer, but even if you don't know it, you're going to learn it because you're thinking about it now. And by being wrong, you're going to be able to process it and get it right next time. And so just ask somebody different every single time. And I never get angry if they don't know, even if we talked about it 5 minutes before and they zoned out. I zone out, you probably zone out. It's part of being a human being. If there's a distraction, then we get distracted by it. So, if someone walks in my office now and I get distracted in this interview, then you're probably going to be distracted and off of what you were doing. So we don't get mad at them for being humans. We just try to find the best way for us to learn the material and all be on the same page. And that's really helped us just by simply making sure they're all engaged. Because as a young player, if you asked a question, I was probably thinking about what I was going to have for dinner or what my mom packed for lunch that day or whatever the case. I wasn't thinking about and processing what the question was. So that's probably the other thing that's been the most impactful in our program.
That's such a good point, because I think we're guilty of feeling like our whole program is moving in one direction because Johnny and Jimmy know what we're talking about. And those are those are the two that, for whatever, because we use a lot of PGC principles. So a lot of my guys have gone to those camps. So the ones that go to camps, when I ask a question, what does Huppy stand for? They can rattle it off. And I feel really good about that. But the guys that didn't go to PGC, they don't know it. But yet I'll just check off that box. So I think that's a great point. And then and it helps too. Like, I think if all of your players know, it's kind of like just in the classroom, these are good teaching principles. If all of your students or players know that there's a chance that their name's going to be called, maybe there's a heightened sense of paying attention because, oh crap, you never know. Like we pray at the end of practice, and occasionally, instead of just saying who'd like to close us out in prayer, I'll call on somebody. Coach, you want to see a kid squirm. If it's a guy that hasn't prayed very often in front of people, right, that happens.
Right. And then I'm sure the next time they're thinking about what they're going to say and what their message is going to be. And then in long term, it helps them, be able to formulate a plan and their thoughts anyway. So there's a lot of positives. How
do you keep that from turning into almost like a gotcha, though? Because my eyes, I think, might just scan for who doesn't seem to be paying attention. And then because it seems from you, it doesn't sound like it's a very safe way to share information that they know, but it's okay if they make mistakes. So as a coach, how do you keep it from, he's not looking at me, I'm going to call on him? Well, we just ask for their eyes. Hey, can I get everybody's attention? Can I get everybody's eyes real quick? This is important. This could help us win a game. This could help us win a possession. And we have an unbelievable group of young men that has great character. And it's not just me. They give each other. And that, we don't have a lot of rules, but if someone's speaking, we make eye contact and we let them finish what they're saying, and then we try to pause and process what they said. And if we have a response, we have a response. But I think it's part of our culture now. We've been here 5 years, and it hasn't always been like this. But so I don't know if it's the chicken or the egg. I don't know if it's the culture or it's the people, but it's definitely some combination of both because. And I do, you said it best, it's safe. It's a very safe place. Our program, our locker room, our offices are safe to be open, honest, and transparent. Even if we don't like what each other's going to say, we're very comfortable and we don't take offense to it. I've had in the season meetings, guys come in and say things that I would have never said to a coach in a million years. And I'm grateful that they did, because I take it in and I say, you know what, you're probably right. And your first reaction is to explain why you did that. Well, with these young men that you're trying to earn their trust daily, they don't care why you did it. All they know is how you made them feel when you did it. So usually I apologize and say, I can see how you felt that way. And now here's my side of the equation. And even I've done that. And afterwards that's not really important. He told me what he was thinking and feeling. There's no reason for me to explain why I made him feel like that. All I can do now is take that information and figure out a way to impact him in a better way. I love the way that you take that approach with your players. I think that works at the high school level with parents as well. I felt like over the years, most of the time parents just want to be heard. They're not really rarely do I say something that make them go, oh, you're right. The way I was feeling is wrong. I would imagine players are the same way. No question. And especially when we try as a staff that if we do something, if we jump, I don't say jump because we're not that confrontational. We're very open and direct. But if we get on a guy and he doesn't respond well, then we try not to do that again. We try to figure out what he responds to, what motivates him, what's his intrinsic motivation, what's his why. And then we simply try to do that because all we want is them to be at their best. Now, the flip side of it is their next coach may not be quite as accommodating to how they learn and their emotions. But I guess if you're I guess I don't want to say training, but if you're training independent thinkers, independent learners, then they're going to be able to adapt to the situation if we do a great job here. So I think it definitely outweighs the fact that they might play for a tyrant in Kosovo or someplace after the fact. But, they'll be grown men and they'll decide do they want to keep that check and deal with it or give the check back. So thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.